So I got the hubs back from machine shop, because the hubs I bought, they're Jeep hubs, so they're kind of standard hubs with a part number, but they are made ever so slightly differently, and the difference is basically here where this shoulder is. The clearance or the specifications, I don't know what it is, you know, aren't for a TVR, they're much more kind of exacting, I think. So if you buy these from Motorclan, I believe they fit perfectly first time. I didn't, and so this shoulder was too tight, and so when you came to put the upright on it, it wouldn't clear, right? It wouldn't go over, it would rock over the shoulder. So they're back in the machine shop, and now they fit perfectly. So that's really good. They just shaved the minimum they could. You see it's very tight still, the minimum they could to put that on. So now we're just going to bolt these uprights, these hubs, same on the rear, and we're closer to a rolling chassis. Put some thread locker on. Whee! That's a little bit too much. Okay, it might be a bit wibbly in the wind, but you'll bear with. So it'd be common sense to bolt the upright onto here first and then put the hub on. But I was told, really good advice, that if you don't put the hub on first, because of the way these bolts are and how deep they go through here, if you bolt these in, you won't be able to get access to these, especially, well, not this bit, but this bit at the top. If you put the thingy on the top, the ball joint, you won't be able to get the hub in. So that's why we do it that way around. But we can't do that until we tighten this ball joint anyway at the bottom. So I do need to tighten that one up before I put these in, like that. And I do need to put the top piece on now that the hub's in. So we come back over here. It's really nice that we've got a summer's day again. You know, summer's a perfect time to restore a car because it's not as cold as in the winter. It's also the time you want to be driving the car, but you know, that's another thing. So we've got this kind of top plate, which I've kind of brushed off. These are the originals, and then painted. Paint's just a layer of protection, really, and so they're meant to slot into here on the top like that, and then already got the hardware here. And again, they're not oh, speak, Robert, Jesus H. Because they're not bolts, because they're not nuts, we'll need to use a thread locker again to try and hold those down. I do have some clips that I bought, or not clips, spring washers that I bought to try and make sure these fit. I can't remember whether this fits in the hole though. Oh yeah, it does seem to, so that'll give it a bit of extra strength as well, but I'll still put a bit of thread locker on them. Just in case. So these can go in now because I've put that there. These seem to have stopped a little prematurely. Oh no, all right. Sometimes when you're hand tightening things, because of the metric imperial stuff and everything, I like to be really careful when I'm doing these up, because I don't want to, you know, thread any bolts or strip any bolt heads or whatever. So, okay, that one feels good. So yeah, they're bolted in, that's bolted on. Obviously I've got the ball joints here. So they kind of painted those as well, so they pop in there, and that forms the kind of top and bottom mounts of these hubs. So should all be good in a few minutes. Let's do the other one. So you probably saw me just struggling with this taper. Hold on, let me switch off the lights so they're not flickering at you. Yeah, problem with this ball joint just spinning. So you put the nut on and it goes up to the nylock. Where have I put the nut? Can't find the nut. Nut goes up to the nylock, and then because the nylock's quite strong, it won't go past, and it just spins this whole ball joint round inside the assembly. Quick bit of research, and what you need to do is just get the, and I didn't know this obviously because I've never done this before, you've got to get this steering arm kind of plate thing down onto the taper here, because the taper is obviously what locks a ball joint down here. So you can't just put it on like that, you need to pack it in some way so that before the nylock catches, we push that down onto the taper, and once that's secure on the taper, then we can we'll be able to do the nut up properly. So that's what I'm going to do now. I don't know whether you can see what I'm doing there, but yeah, you can kind of. So putting 2 spanners under there pushes this nut upwards away from the nylock bit at the top, which is what puts all the tension on and starts to spin the ball joint underneath. So with the spanners in place, we haven't got to the nylock. It should push this arm down onto the taper of the ball joint, secure the arm onto the taper, and then we can take the nut, back it off again, take the spanners out, and it should then work. That's the idea anyway. So we're looking to make sure this thread down here doesn't spin. I don't know whether that's going to come up on the camera. So far, so good. Even though we've got some nylock. Okay, good. Now I figured out how to tighten ball joint, which I didn't know before. Hold on. Yeah, about this thing here, is that when this nut fully tightens, there's actually, I've put a washer on there now, but very tight washer. There's a shoulder that sticks out obviously because the taper comes through, but when that's fully tight, it's not actually completely flat on the bottom of this piece here. So if this ball joint were to come loose off the taper for any reason, then it'd be just kind of very small rattling around on here against this nut, which is a little bit terrifying. And I'm sure there was a washer on here before, but that's the thing, I haven't looked back on it. So I'm going to put a washer in there and put this back down. On the other side, I'm not going to do that, and I'll tell you why. It's because we're just doing an experiment on this side. So I've put this on. I nearly got this. This was nearly a bit of a catastrophe in that I managed to get the taper down a bit, and then when I was tightening it, I was halfway through the nylock tightening stage of the bolt, and it started to spin then. And so I couldn't get it off and I couldn't get it on, so that was quite tricky to get back off. But you can see on this one as well, I don't know, maybe you can't, it's a bit dark, isn't it? You can see on this one, you see that, yeah, this there, see how that bolt's tight, but it's hitting the shoulder, it's hitting the taper, so you do need a significant washer in there. That one's even worse, and that's because it's got a different arm, you'll notice. So I got off I think Andrew Hoyle or someone, I can't quite remember now, these what are basically Sagaris or Sagaris or however you want to say it, steering arms that have this up kick, right, that basically lifts where it connects to the steering, whereas these ones are the original Tuscan ones, and these are straight, they're flat, right? So very different kind of approach to the geometry of the car. And some people swear by these, and other people say they make no difference, and what's the point? So me and Ian at Sportmotive decided, well, let's test it, because we've got a chassis, we've got a car, I already bought these, and I've got my old ones. So we'll put one side, one the other, and we'll do a little bit of an experiment. See if we can measure the bump and all that kind of thing, see if it really does make any difference. Anyway, so that was about the washers. Well, here, might as well spin on these steering points here. I don't think that's in focus. Yeah, there we go. The only thing about this is when these were painted, obviously this nut was in a particular place, so I'm going to have to put a little bit of paint, black paint on it afterwards, but that's okay. So I painted these as well. They're brand new, but they were bare metal, or what looked like bare metal. I don't know whether they're stainless or whatever, but I thought I might as well. Something like that. Keep that loose for now. Put this back on. So of course now we've got the hubs back, we can fit the hub to the upright, and then obviously we'll need to slacken off this bolt to bring the upright down to get the drive shaft in, but you still want this located beforehand, I would imagine. Well, we're going to find out anyway. See this one, even with the circlip there, you see how that's protruding there. So it's using that entire thread, which is what I like. Oh, whereas this one, front upright, you can see that's what it looks like without the spring washer. Put the spring washer in and it goes shallow inside the thing, not using the whole thread. So I don't know, I prefer this way. Whereas we'll use the spring washers on this one, because it's clear that they can support them. Obvious to many, but sometimes you just don't do things in the right order. And order is the word of the day today. I put these top plates on, and of course you can't secure the ball joint and get this working with it on the thing, so it's not happening. So they've got to come off, ball joint's got to be fitted, and they can go back on. That's the idea, because this will fit through there, but not the other way around. Other points of order. Such a beautiful sunny day today, it has to be said. Other points of order are on this suspension. Sorry, car's a bit high at the moment. It makes a lot more sense to fit the coilover into this hole here before you put this arm in, because of that hole there. So I've knocked this back a little bit with a rubber hammer just to get it out of the way, so that I do have access to that kind of bolt hole. But unfortunately the bolts I've got aren't long enough for this particular joint. There's just not enough thread to get through the nylock on the nut, which is a bit weird. So instead of being a 3.5, I think they need to be a 4-inch bolt on this one. Nearly everything's a 3.5, like that's a 3.5. But that one's a 4, so I need to stop on that one and get some 4 sizes. So yeah, point of order, coilover into arm before, whatever this is called, thrust arm or whatever. I don't want to take this out now because these are a pain in the arse to line up. So, you know, there you go, point of order. Now it's time to fill the diff up, because I'd rather fill it up before put the drive shafts in. Makes more sense to me. This seems to be good stuff. That's the right spec as far as I know. It's got a little filler tube inside it, which is quite cool. So I might not need to use my pumpy filler thing, but let's see. It's meant to take this whole one and a bit of the other one. So let's see what it takes. So instead of trying that, let's use my pump. Okay, this will probably take a while because there's a litre and it's a litre thing. But with the help of the tube, hopefully you can see a bit better. There, we've got it all kind of hooked in. It's got a metal thing that's right inside now, which is good. Okay. We're officially dripping. So that took about, I reckon about what it said really, shockingly, 1.8 litres maybe. It's dripping good on the floor, so no need for any more. A nice full diff, ready to put in the drive shafts. Okay, see how this goes. There we go. Just needed to get the teeth lined up properly. And then this. I don't know whether I can do this on. Whether I'm going to get the angle. Not sure this is the right idea. Alright, so instead of being stupid, I'm taking this end off, which is the diff end. So it's still packed, obviously, so I've got to be careful with it. And left this end on, which is the way it came out in the first place. Put it into this bit first. Put this end which is also packed with grease into the diff. Bloody diff grease. Absolutely hate it. Right, oh, and put this in like this. Oh look, wasn't that a lot easier? And then this, as it bends up, push the thing in, be able to hook it up nicely with this side. So we'll do that in a second. Put that typically I put the nut on the bolt. So I just want to put the bolt in place. Better. Now I can more line this up. All right, cool. Let's get something a bit better. Okay, sports fans, I've got these in now. I've got some 3 3/4 inch hardware, which you can see is still only just long enough. I mean, that's a little bit more there, but once it's tightened up, it'll only have a tiny bit showing. The 3.5s were not long enough for this this area here. I put them in this way round. I've seen photos of them in the other way round, but I don't know, access to that side seems much harder the other way around, so I'll put it this way around for now. I've reused my previous kind of spacers. They're obviously a little bit pitted, but I've buzzed off all the rust and protected them, so I'm sure they'll be fine. And I'm sure if they aren't, I can easily jump up and just replace those if needed. So now we're onto the uprights and kind of final assembly here, and then maybe front kind of brace, a few bits of paint that I just need to touch up, like this steering rack that had the nut on, and so that wasn't painted fully. Just a few bits of paint that have come off the powder coat here I just want to touch up before I forget about them. I still haven't done any buttoning up really, which is fine, because I want to make sure I've got it right first. But then we're very close to a rolling chassis. So you saw me put the drive shafts in last time, so now both sides are built up, looking spiffy and spanky, so you know, all good from that respect. So yeah, let's see about these uprights, will we? Shall we? Yeah, I think so. Let's put you down. Let's get an upright. These uprights are heavy at the moment because they've got the ball joint on the top already fitted. Again, that needs a little bit of paint, and they've got the hub on as well, so they are quite spicy. I'm going to put them onto this first. Can't tell you how close we are to a rolling chassis. Obviously, backs in, we talked about that. But these are very close now, so I kind of very loosely mounted them on the bottom here. I'll do that up a bit more now. I need to put the rest of them in actually, because there's only 2. See that one there? No one told me that this would be quite such a challenge, because it is made up of, if I go the other side, these 2 spacers. They go either side of the thing here. It doesn't look too difficult on first glance, apart from that it is a very tight fit. So you need to kind of, and also you need to try and hold many things at once, right? Which is actually really quite difficult. So obviously the inside of the powder coat needs a bit of sanding down. What I needed to do was tap it all the way in and then keep pulling it out, sanding a bit more, tapping it in, you know, just to make sure it's in the right places. But the thing that really made the difference was these. I used some extra strong double-sided tape, which I've used for all sorts of things, including number plates. This stuff, because it's very thin, but it's very strong, and actually it seems to get even stronger. So that enabled me to hold them on stuck either side and then knock it in, and occasionally I'd have to kind of, you know, wiggle them back through the holes so that they lined up again. But basically it gave me the ability to not have to use 4 hands at once, which is a real pain with these ones. Obviously this bit here is the drop link, so the drop link goes all the way through there and secures the second half of that, and then goes down here and it will connect to the anti-roll bar, which goes here through to there, across the other side. So we do need to fit that as well, but this is done, so just need to do that one, and then the front anti-roll bar, and then the rear anti-roll bar, maybe, I don't know whether it gets in the way of running fuel lines, but I'll think about that later. And then all I need to do is put the discs on, and then I can put the wheels on, and then it can finally, for the first time, just wheel out there. I don't know why, because it just needs to wheel back again, but it'll be fun all the same.